Hi,
Hey, how's it going?
good. How are you?
It's I'm good. It's pretty late on the East Coast. Do you ever sleep?
I think you know that. It is it is 1 to 2 hours away from my bedtime.
Okay, cool. So we'll make this short. It's just today was an interesting day. We had some interesting discussions, and so we felt the need to talk about it. And why not talk about it in front of people? Because it's a big topic that's being put out there by a lot of dog trainers that needs to be addressed as soon as possible. So, yeah,
And apparently a lot of other people go to bed late too. So that's cool. Or
that
they're
is
not
true.
on the East Coast.
True. They could be in Europe or somewhere. Who knows? Hey
So,
guys, come give us some comments. Tell us where you're from. Let's dive in.
so where do we start?
Where do we start? So that idea of like positive only trainers are the reason all those problematic dogs are euthanized in dog shelters is being put out there. And Oregon, hey, Oregon, Europe,
Australia.
it's all your Europe, that's awesome. Australia,
Australia. Isn't it late in Australia?
um, I don't know what time it is it in Australia? Canada, Ohio, California, there you go.
South Africa.
Texas. I need to go to Texas. I've never been there.
I haven't either.
Um,
So,
so, yeah. So after we have the discussion, we'll get to answer a few questions here and there, and why not? So everyone asking questions, hopefully we'll get your question when we're done. And
yeah, and
she's from UK. Awesome. Cool.
Colorado. So it's always better to ask a question in the question box where you click the three little dots in the
Happy,
comments.
happy birthday. That's one of my friends.
Oh, I was like, how do they know?
Well, thank you. Hawaii. Awesome. Aloha. Washington State. Newport Beach. Nice. It's cool. Um, where do you want to start? Let's start.
So I guess one of the comments we see with somewhat frequency, both like on our videos and sometimes like other creators will make videos about it, is that positive only training is killing dogs. And there's all these dogs in the shelters where if you just gave them one correction, they
Yeah,
would be fine and they would survive. And it's a really strange statement because I find that the people saying this don't actually work in animal control. So they would really have no idea what dogs are being
absolutely.
euthanized for a safety issue. So they're not at liberty to say.
Absolutely.
And so there's that. We want to be careful when we make broad, sweeping statements that are serious like that, that we actually have experience in that field. And if you don't work in animal control or with a police department, you really don't know what dogs are getting euthanized for severe issues because
Or,
you would not
or,
meet them.
or if you've never really dealt with problematic dogs that have some severe, serious issues and problems.
Yes.
Um, yeah, and I can't think of a better person to ask about those things or to discuss those things other than you. Like you work at dog shelter, animal control, you're a dog trainer, dog behaviors.
Yeah.
And you've dealt with a lot of hardcore cases because
Yeah.
that's what you do. Yeah.
Yeah. So my practice specifically, while we do take clients that have like puppies, we specifically advertise towards and are known for taking like high level bite cases, dangerous dog cases, cases where a child has been injured and Child Protective Services is investigating, court ordered bite cases in various counties. And then I have a contract with animal control myself. Um, and so we see like the worst of the worst and kind of where they're coming from, what's been done with them, and we can think about why they might be the way that they are.
That is
And so, how
correct.
many of them are that way because of positive training?
Zero.
I would say
Um,
zero. Yeah.
yeah, because when those stuff that they're talking about, like aversives in general, let's say a leash correction, when it really works and it feels like it worked, like and it really made a difference, uh, that dog never really had a serious problem. So it's as simple as that. So it's not going to fix any issues, but unfortunately, I think people are feeding into that idea that quick fixes, quick fixes. Everyone doesn't want to put in the work and effort and consistency that dogs deserve and that behavioral problems deserve and need. Um, and a lot of trainers out there and famous ones make people see that, hey, leash pop, it worked. The dog is not reactive anymore. E-collar correction worked. Vibrate on the e-collar. Look at the dog. He's looking great. And unfortunately, people believe it. And they see a I don't know, 5-minute video online and they think that is a solution.
Yeah.
It is a big problem. If the average dog owner thinks that leash correction is a solution to every behavioral problem, whether it's resource guarding, leash reactivity, whether it's jumping up, whether it's any behavioral issue, or even like now we're seeing using leash corrections to teach dogs behaviors. And like that person made the comment that if you don't correct a dog for what the wrong they're doing, and if you only teach them what you want them to do, you're not showing them the other half of the picture, which is so wrong. And I give an example, like if I'm teaching a dog how not to run or dart out of the doorway, I don't need to make the dog run out of the doorway and correct them for it. I can just teach the dog how to sit and wait and be patient to wait at the doorway. So a correction is not the solution or the method to teach a dog how to behave properly.
Yeah. So the comment that you're referring to was on the video we were showing of using like a back tie to teach a dog not to jump.
Right.
And the person was just saying that if we had have just corrected the dog once, the dog would have been fine. Except, I don't know about the dog you were working with was a doodle. The dog I'm working with is a pit bull that has been in at least 3 to 4 homes and has been yanked around his entire life. And he is worse and worse and worse as a result of it. And now he is stressed and ricocheting off people because he doesn't know what to do with himself. Um, so that comment also was interesting to me because she was telling us to use leash corrections on the trainer, who's also a groomer, was telling us to use leash corrections on dogs that she knows nothing about in situations that she knows nothing of. So, and that's dangerous too because she doesn't know the dog I was working with. That dog could be a redirector where if I leash correct him, he's going to turn around and latch on to me. Or
100%.
if I leash correct him, he's going to get really scared of me and it's going to set us back. Or if I leash correct him around a person, because this dog meets so few new people right now, if I leash correct him around the one new person he happens to meet, he may decide he doesn't like strangers approaching us on a walk or strange men or something like that. So there's all kinds of issues that could arise from like the bad advice being given.
100%. And especially with these corrections, you see a lot of dogs become avoidant of whatever thing they were doing or focused on. So if you get a dog that's insecure, afraid, unsure about something or anxious about something, and then you add that correction, which is an extra layer of pressure and anxiety and pain and discomfort, whatever it is, on top of that, what's the end result? So the end result is either you're going to have a dog that's very avoidant uh, of that thing they was afraid of, and when they're forced to interact with that thing they were scared of, what are they going to do? They're going to overreact, and they're going to do stuff that nobody wants to see or nobody wants a dog to do, and then it's another big issue. I feel like it's a very fine line. Like it's especially with balance training, it's one thing if a trainer who's really assessing the situation, he can read the dog and he knows exactly what he's doing and he's fluent and he knows whatever, you know, it's one thing to correct the dog in that circumstance, and another whole other thing for like to put out information for everybody in the world to correct their dogs for stuff like that. It's very dangerous. I mean,
Yeah,
I feel it could be dangerous on both sides for sure, but it's a lot more dangerous when you're giving that tool and you're kind of advertising it as the magic solution to all the problems to everyone out there. It's
absolutely.
yeah,
Um, yeah, it's just really bizarre and it's so prevalent. And I think what's interesting too is how angry it makes people, the thought of not um the thought of not like correcting a dog actually makes people feel threatened and angry. Somebody wrote a hammer in search of a nail. Yes. So I think that that is the mentality of a lot of trainers out there, especially on social media.
right, right. And it's and also like if you're gonna rely on release corrections to a dog, like with a dog, it's a um, we already talked about the dog becoming avoidant of certain things and adding extra pressure and anxiety and insecurity to the dog. And also the other thing is the dog is going to become reliant on leash corrections. It almost becomes like a signal to them. So
Yeah.
if you're using leash correction for every little thing or a lot of the times, and then the dog doesn't know how to do anything without those leash corrections. C, what do you do when the dog is off leash? You're basically screwed. Like the dog doesn't know what to do. You don't have zero control over the dog. And then you're gonna have to use more aversives or put the dog on an e-collar, which is gonna even make the problem even worse. So
Yeah.
it's not a solution. It's not definitely not a solution. Take the time to teach your dog what you want them to do, um, and show them exactly what you want them to do, and don't fall into all that BS of, oh, correction and your dog is going to be ruined if you don't correct the dog. And if you don't correct the dog for growling for resource guarding, oh, you're allowing resource guarding. Like, it's just bizarre. Like, if I don't correct the dog for resource guarding, it doesn't mean that I allow resource guarding or I'm like feeding it resource guarding. I have a lot of other tools to deal with resource guarding. If you correct the growl, and then your dog is going to become a silent assassin. So I don't know, you or a family member or a kid comes near them, the dog's going to attack. Simple as that.
Yeah.
So it's not rocket science that you feel that correcting a dog showed you some results, which is suppression. And suppression does not mean the problem is fixed at all.
Yeah.
Especially with behaviors that are really strong and again that have really strong genetic propensities and dispositions. It's not fixing anything.
And I would say when we're dealing with like severe aggression too, we're never going to fix it. We can manage it, we can mitigate it, we can live around it, we can try really hard. But at the end of the day, if you have a dog that's like really hurt somebody or you, like you're living with you're living with you're living with something that could at any point do exactly what it did before, because it is capable of that, and it's shown
100%.
us that they do it. So if I
Right.
have a dog that mauls somebody, and that is what we work with, I always tell the client that it's their choice to live with, work with, and spend resources on their dog, and it's a personal decision, and that there are no guarantees. And their dog, 1 or 2 or 5 years down the line, may attack them and badly injure them or somebody else again, and that there is absolutely no guarantee of any kind of fix. It would be like guaranteeing that a person who's gone berserk and stabbed somebody or had like a severe mental episode and become dangerous, it's like guaranteeing that they will never again do that. And we just can't make that claim. And it's like,
Right.
so it's crazy when it's just crazy when trainers claim that they're fixing mental illness or severe aggression, because you cannot fix something that's intrinsic, you know?
100%. Totally. And what a beautiful thing, like going back to the grounding for resource guarding, like what a beautiful thing that those creatures, dogs, you know, like they have like this way of communication. They're telling us something. Like it's even when they're not intending, like just indeliberately saying what they trying to tell us. Like it's
Yeah.
such a cool thing. Like why do you want to just cut that or take that away from them? Like it doesn't make sense. If anything, like those signals should be respected, and it's telling you that there is a problem or the dog is uncomfortable, and you find the right ways to deal with the problem, which are definitely not punishment. Um, because also like a lot of these behaviors are like, especially let's say leash reactivity, the dog is, when they're reacting, they're just, their body is like flooded with neurotransmitters, and they're not in a state of mind that they can learn anything. You can't teach them anything. It's already too late. So corrections are not going to do anything. They're not going to change the emotional state. They're not going to fix a problem because it's already too late for you to do that. So again, with resource guarding, same thing. Somebody asked a question like what to do to prevent resource guarding. It's don't mess with your dog's resources. With puppies, I mean, we recommend hand feeding. It doesn't mean that it's a solution to resource guarding, but hand feeding, I mean, it's cool. It teaches the puppies that good stuff come from you. It's very genetic too. Picking the right dog from the right genetics is important. And also value transfer. We talked about it yesterday, that don't let your dog feel that you're always taking things away from them, and like give them something instead, or teach them like how to trade between things and food and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I trade for everything, even though I don't have to. And generally, when they see me coming and they have something, they like drop what they have and look up because they are pretty sure that I'm coming to give them something, like, because that's what we've done 1,000 times before. And then anytime my puppy or my adult dogs are chewing on something or have a resource, like if I have treats on me, I'll just do drive-bys and give them a few treats, or I'll toss something at them. I'll walk up to them and look at them and reward them, or I'll touch them and give them a treat, like later on in the game, so that they start to feel really good when I go up. So when I approach them, because I've done it so many times, they literally stop chewing what they're chewing and look at me like, hey, what do you have? So rather than have the impulse to chew more or begin to guard, it's like the reverse, because they feel very nice when people walk up to them and they have an item, because it's been like a condition that it's a good thing when people approach you and you have something.
Got it. True. Somebody commented, they just heard a trainer say that if you use too much food when dealing with reactivity, when you wean the dog off food, it stresses the dog out and she's the non-food as punishment. I don't know if I understand it, but I guess you heard the trainer say that maybe she's trying to hint that food is not good for reactivity. Um, Neither are corrections, if she's saying that. Corrections don't work for reactive dogs.
Yeah.
I've seen many dogs that are highly reactive. You correct them, you can correct them all you want with anything you want. It doesn't do anything because it's already too late. So the secret is to redirect, be preemptive about it, and food is one of the tools that we use. So,
You can definitely like correct a soft dog and freak them out and
right,
suppress them. And
right,
you can have like a dog that is quietly anxious and panting and freaked out. And you'll see that on a lot of Instagram accounts that are like 3 day, your dog is cured camps.
right.
So that's, yeah, that's what's happening
Not
there.
even 3 day, not even 3 days. They meet
Five
people on
minutes.
this. They meet people on the street. Exactly 5 minutes. Slip leash on them, and they correct them. Problem solved. There you go. Problem is not solved. Suppressing a
No.
problem is not fixing the problem. It's a band-aid, a very little band-aid on a big wound. It does not make anything.
Yeah.
It's not, yeah. And also, even if the problem feels that it's fixed, it will resurface at one point. And if it doesn't resurface in that area, it's going to resurface in a lot of other areas. In addition to, like, leash corrections are just not a good way to build a relationship with your dog or to build trust with your dog. Like it's just it damages your relationship with your dog. I don't know if that's something that you want. A lot of people don't care. A lot of people just want like a robot dog. They don't care about the relationship between them and their dogs. and they live their lives just thinking that their dog is trying to dominate them and they're trying to dominate over their dogs. It's what a miserable
Yeah.
way to live. It's
I don't like for us, I don't think that that's uh the kind of client that like I'm attracting at this point. Like we rarely get clients these days that we don't get along with because they like how we work with animals and it resonates with them, and our clients generally don't have the heart to like be yanking on their dogs, which is cool. Once in a while we attract a client that their values with animals are different than ours. But I think a lot of people just don't even want to be mean anymore to their pet.
right. Right. And also the other thing is um, corrections don't need to be a leash pop on a slip collar or a prong collar and inflict pain. A correction could be just stepping into the dog's bubble, like spatial pressure. A correction could be raising your voice, social pressure. A correction could be, I don't know, like a lot of people use squirt bottles. A correction could be one of those compressed air bottles that you use. Um, so it's people are stuck on corrections being leash pops and like highly aversive things because again of those social media accounts that are pumping that information out there.
Yeah.
So
Well, and many trainers are against any kind of social pressure or control, like even keeping a short leash or not letting a dog go where they want to go. So I think it's like it gets to be a really gray area.
right. The trainer commented, not all problems can be fixed. I agree. Not all problems can be fixed. Some problems, like Gia mentioned, they require just management for life, and it is a reality. So ever and sometimes, of course, you put in the work, you put in the effort to try and make the problem better and fix it, but you get to a point where like it's gonna require management.
So, oh, back to the thing with shelter dogs and like that positive trainers are causing shelter dogs to die. Like I can think of all the dogs that come in for euthanasia at our shelter because we take dogs that have had an accident involving an injury. I mean, it's not an accident, they're biting people on purpose, but we'll call it an accident. And basically, in New York State, like a dog has to be under quarantine for 10 days before euthanasia if they've broken skin. And you can kind of like get around it with the health department sometimes, but most people don't know how to do that. And a lot of the times, dogs attack people and the people are badly injured, and the police have to come and dart the dog. Emergency services has to come and dart or contain the dog. Animal control is coming. Like people don't realize, but people get trapped in their house with their aggressive dog and cannot get out of the house, or like they're hiding in a room and the dog is coming through the door or something. And so the dogs that we see coming in for accidents, they're not trained by positive trainers. Like I've never had one of my dogs that I work with end up in animal control because of me. I haven't seen any of my colleagues' dogs come through, and that's just honestly like I just haven't. And much of the time these dogs are coming in and they have a prong collar on that then we have to try to figure out how to get off of this dog that's extremely angry, or they have a choke chain on and we have to figure out how to get it off so they're not in the cage with a choke chain on. And that's extremely common, and often these dogs have had either no training or almost all of them have had punitive training, like a lot of them. And when you look through their medical records, rarely have they been on behavioral medication, even though they're really clearly like deranged. And so you're seeing dogs that have not gotten help, not dogs that have gotten any kind of qualified help.
Right, right. I know we talked about that, and it's true. It's unfortunate with that idea that they're blaming positive trainers for the dogs that are dying at shelters. They're like, oh, I'll go to a shelter and fix the problem. Just give me a slip leash or a prong collar. And it's so wrong because it's like you said, all those dogs have already been through that kind of training and it didn't work. And Sophie commented, my dogs were reactive before. And I tried to correct him for that. And guess what? It didn't work. Yes, work has now fixed the problems. Well, good for you. Awesome.
Yeah.
Good job. Yeah.
And I would say also the dogs that are coming in and they're dangerous, like they would have been dangerous whether I worked with them or they were on medication or whatever. Like it doesn't, I don't want to just blame like incompetent trainers. Generally, many of these dogs would have gone south no matter what anybody did.
Right. Right. But like I was saying earlier to that person who was trying to make the comments, the mean comments,
Mean.
um, yeah, that positive training can never cause irreversible damage like the other forms of training. Um, the worst case scenario, I don't know, a client, let's say, or a person had bad timing with positive reinforcement. I mean, he probably reinforced not the thing that he wants. You can recondition that and work on it. But when you get a dog that's been abused on an e-collar and been shocked for everything and already has formed superstitious associations towards a bunch of random stuff and avoidant of people and avoidant of a lot of things and dogs and other stuff, that's a big deal. Well,
Yeah.
that dog is probably never gonna be the same again.
Yeah.
Um,
And
I, I'm not.
we
I'm
see
not.
dogs.
Yeah, absolutely. And
We
I'm
see
not
dogs
saying
that are
that
like that.
there aren't any good dog trainers out there that know how to condition an e-collar. There are some of them out there, and but when it's misused, it's really bad, very bad.
I mean, the fact is those trainers aren't using an e-collar to work on mental illness. And
Right.
those trainers that use e-collars are not putting an e-collar on an aggressive dog so that they can be loose in the community. It's just
Right.
not happening.
100%. Yes. Very well said. You shouldn't you shouldn't have to be mean to teach or correct. That is true. Absolutely. Can you help a dog that's dog aggressive to other dogs? What do you think?
Sure can. You could hire us and we will help you. It's like aggression is something that you want to tackle with a professional and you want to tackle it with like a really good professional. So I would say a decent number of my and our clientele has like been other trainers. Many trainers have dogs that have problems, and a big portion of the people I see via Zoom are either veterinarians or dog trainers that have a problem themselves. And even though they kind of know what to do, it's so complicated that it's better to have somebody that can like at least ping pong ideas with you and guide you through the process.
Right.
Like,
100%. I
plus dogs' lives are so short. Like, you're wasting time if you spend years and years working on a problem.
I agree. I agree. Sometimes focusing on the problem too much almost makes it worse. And honestly, people just stop forcing your dogs to do uncomfortable things or be in uncomfortable situations. Not all dogs need to be able to play with 10 other dogs or need to go to daycare or need to be off leash with 20 other dogs at the park. Just focus on the relationship between you and your dog. And if your dog doesn't want to be around other dogs, it's okay. That's fine. Like he's telling you something. We gotta kind of respect that. I am not saying or advocating for like aggressive dogs or like to not tackle problems with aggression, but some dogs don't like to interact with other dogs and they're friendly and they're neutral if you don't force them to interact with the dogs. So just let them be neutral, let them be themselves. Don't keep pushing them and poking that bruise until they develop a serious, severe problem or injure another dog or even learn that aggression is the answer to get out of that uncomfortable situation.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
There's a real like obsession with people wanting their dogs to be like really friendly with every dog and every person they meet. And half the time it's like a rescue dog that's a breed that is not friggin' friendly. Like if you have a dog breed that is bred to like hate and want to attack other dogs, it's very it's very like mind blowing to me that then you think that your dog is going to be going to the dog park and being Mr. Friendly. Like
Right.
certainly there are outliers, but I have border collies. They don't appreciate getting slammed into, and they don't like dogs like messing with them, and they want to work and be with me or each other. And like I know what they are and I respect it. And they can have friends and they can meet my friends' dogs and get used to other dogs living here and all that. But I would never just bring a strange dog in and let it like loose in my house or think that I'm going to have a dog birthday party here and that it's going to go well.
Absolutely.
And if I wanted to have a dog like that, I would probably have gotten a Labrador or a Golden Retriever.
Yeah, there was this golden retriever who used to come try to join Chloe's friend group, and it was just not fit. Like that dog didn't enjoy being around other dogs. He always tried to bully other dogs and try to attack other dogs and resource guards everything around them. Like it's I had a discussion with the owner, like your dog, it's not fair for your dog or anyone here. Like just go teach your dog a good game of fetch and go play with him somewhere else, when there's nobody around. And you'll be happier, your dog will be a lot happier, and he doesn't need to be here. He doesn't have to play with off-leash dogs, period. Simple as that. And
Yeah.
that's a solution. He went to that compulsive training class,
Wow.
the one, yeah, and
The one.
yeah, the one. And his dog has probably more serious problems now. He wants to attack
Yeah.
dogs even when he's on leash, and the problem he didn't have before.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
I mean, that kind of training, which we made a video about, can
right.
cause dogs to just have an aversion to everything around them when they're on the leash.
Yep. Would arousal-based reactivity training differ from, say, aggression or fear-based reactivity? What do you think? Is there a difference in the way you would tackle that problem?
So I think a lot of dogs are like misdiagnosed with things. So that's the first issue. Like it's really popular these days, especially in positive training, to describe everything as fear-based aggression, fear-based reactivity, and to describe aggression as reactivity. And so, uh, I would just be really careful when you're describing a behavior to describe it in as accurate a way possible, um, so that there's no like question or gray area. So if you have a dog that is lunging and barking at a target, and if they get loose, they beeline it to attack, I do not believe that is fear-based reactivity. I believe that's aggression. I don't know. I don't know, the hypothetical dog we're talking about. I don't know what the motivation is. But when you have a dog that actively wants to get to a target rather than leave, I think, we're not looking at fear. And that doesn't mean that now we get to be mean and punish the dog. It just means, maybe the motivation is different than what you thought. So, do I treat fear based reactivity, or we'll call it aggression? Do I treat different types of aggression differently? Not really. It gets too complicated then. And I'm working with pet owners that need to understand like a rule and a structure and have very simple things to follow. So it's essentially all counter conditioning, control, and obedience, and working to keep the pet calm and sub threshold no matter what the motivation is. So whether you want to attack somebody because it's fun and you're a predator, or because you're territorial and you're pissed, or because you are afraid and you want them to leave, I'm going to deal with it the same way, with control, like gentle control, and teaching you how to be calm in that situation and not to feel a negative emotion, whatever it may be. And
Right.
I can't ask you what your emotion is because you're a dog.
True. And I feel like many of the serious dogs don't even react. Many of the dogs that mean some serious business don't even bark. Like sometimes the most silent person in the room is the most dangerous one. And um, that happens a lot. Typically, the ones that try to show that they're strong and speak about it and talk about it and they're tough is typically they don't mean serious business. I mean, there are exceptions, of course, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I
I
mean, it depends. The ones that are really whacked out, over aroused can be pretty dangerous, but the ones that are quiet and watching and trying to watch the target to see where they can strike are the scary
right,
ones.
right. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
And they can look like they're not going to attack, but really they're just like hunting.
There's a dog in my city that I see the owner walking him, and he's fully restrained and he has control over him. But the way that dog stalks things and stares at things scares the hell out of me. I'm like, if that dog gets loose, he doesn't bark, he doesn't react, but I guarantee, I bet my life on it that if you let that dog loose, he's gonna either kill a dog or attack someone. Simple as that. It's his whole body language, his demeanor, the way he stares is just so strange. And
Yeah.
yeah, not even. I told you about my German Shepherd. So the female, she would show some threat display if she's uncomfortable. Never bit anyone in her life. The most amazing dog ever. The male never barked, never showed any threat display. He would sneak up on people and bite them in their calf muscle, like on the leg, and without a single bark. And he met some serious business. Like he bet two people, and then we had to put a break on the problem. So that was just one of the examples, and there are many more out there.
Yeah. I was wondering more so about this is a question. I was wondering more so about arousal. I have a GSD who is not aggressive nor fearful, but gets super aroused. He exhibits stereotypes like tail chasing and chewing to the point of self mutilation. So, when you
Oh,
have an issue like that, number one, German Shepherds are like not the most healthy breed. They often have they often have back problems, like the same problem my dog had is very common in the breed. And they can have neurological problems. And so sometimes when they're over aroused, it's twinging a nerve. And so they begin attacking their own body. So unless your dog has had an MRI, you really don't know. And there was somebody in our last live who was asking about the hydropause, the Aquapause treadmill and MagnaWave and all that for her German Shepherd because it had a disease. And that person had contacted me a few months ago because their dog was randomly attacking other dogs at the dog park in the middle of play, would like just go berserk. And I said, maybe there's a physical problem. And the dog actually has this degenerative disorder that's causing that. So you really want to make sure that when your dog is aroused, if they're suddenly turning and attacking their own body, that they don't have a nerve impingement or something going on that's causing them to, when they're tense, have a nerve pain. Dogs are dumb. They don't know where it's coming from and they'll attack their own body. And then if your dog is so over aroused that they're becoming like self-mutilating, you're either going to have to work on um, teaching them how to be calm and decreasing arousal and getting control, or your dog is going to need medication of some kind because what your dog is doing, if a person was doing that, it's like psychotic, frankly. Like it's really scary behavior. It's self-mutilation. It's not normal. And it's a quality of life issue. And once they get going with that and start injuring themselves and hurting themselves, it just becomes very self-reinforcing, just like a person that self-mutilates, and it becomes like a fixed pattern in their brain to do that when they become upset. So I would like deal with it expediently, and if I couldn't manage it and stop it fast within like a few weeks, I would be going to a vet behaviorist. And I'm sure the vet behaviorists we work with would say that this is a problem that you should be seeing a neurologist and then a vet behaviorist right away, just to cover all your bases. Anything to add?
great advice.
Special recommend for Showline German Shepherd pup, 4 months. Nipping seems puppy-like, but want to be cautious for biting. So they're worried about their puppy that's biting. Do you want to take this?
Sure. German Shepherds tend to be bitey, and they have really sharp teeth. It's what the breed was bred to do, is to bite things. And I always say, the breed suitability test involves bite work. So it's so with puppies typically we discussed this yesterday. I don't know if you listened to our live yesterday, but it is available on both our pages, so you can kind of revisit it. We talked in depth about puppies and the things you should be prepared when you bring a puppy home, and puppy biting and a bunch of other things. We love redirection, redirect your puppy, and kind of read their tail. You can tell kind of when a puppy is gonna start biting you. So redirect before they get a chance to bite you, and make sure they're getting enough sleep, they're getting enough enrichment activities, enough chews, stuff to chew on, appropriate stuff, enough crate time, enough rest. I can't I can't recommend that enough in terms, especially in terms of rest, and the puppies need to sleep 18 hours a day. So
And yeah, and generally, like at 4 months old, you're kind of at the tip of you're like right at the peak of horribleness for the biting. So it'll probably be over in 2 months if you're lucky.
yep, teething. You're gonna see teeth everywhere.
Do you think dogs with anxiety can be taught self-soothing activities? Breed I am dealing with is an American English Coonhound, 2 years old, spayed female. Yeah, I think dogs can be taught to do replacement behaviors that are sort of calm and focused, fixed action when they are upset about something or stressed. So that would be like enrichment, a licky mat, chewing on a bone, going to their toy box, getting something out. I personally have like my dogs always have access to bully sticks. They get like frozen raw bones at least 2 to 3 times a week. They have like an endless supply of horns and antlers and stuff like that. Like, because they don't particularly guard those things, they just have them out in my house. And so they always have an option for stress relief. And then if I feel like they're amped up and I don't want to entertain them, I might do, yeah, I like a lick mat with like peanut butter or yogurt. It's just about giving them something else to do so that they're not engaging in stress behaviors. And then Scarlett, Scarlett's mom says, give the coonhound some scent work games. Absolutely. That's easy, doesn't take a lot of equipment, and it tires them out within 10 minutes. Anything else?
You said it perfectly. So,
Did we miss anybody?
I
I don't
think I
think so.
answered this question. Uh, Preventing resource guarding, that was one of the first questions. Yeah, I think we got them. I can't see anything else.
All right.
All right.
So,
Anything else you'd like to add before we?
oh, somebody from last night who I've been chatting with a bit, who's in California, says, my puppy did so much better after following your sleeping in crate advice yesterday.
Nice. I'm
Absolutely.
glad.
I think that's probably the biggest mistake I see lately. And the easiest thing to fix is just giving them more sleep, you know? Nothing wrong with it.
Nothing wrong with that.
You
We,
People go crazy without sleep.
I can probably use some more sleep. You can too. All
All
right.
right. Well, thank you everybody for coming, and we'll be doing this again soon sometime, hopefully in a morning hour. Well, not that early for me, but afternoon for me and morning for you, so that
Okay.
some of our Europe people can watch too.
Sounds good. I'm very unlucky because it will have to be either with my coffee or before my coffee. So we'll see how it
Oh,
goes. Yeah.
probably
All
with.
right. Okay. Sounds good. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Have a
Good
good
night.
night.